Hey guys, the dialogue here. So today I'm looking at Edward Snowden, and I'm specifically looking at his mannerisms, his micro-expressions, and just who he is, and if he's actually a Russian spy or not. That's basically what I'm looking at, and to pick up anything else that I can pick up from this interview from 2016 in December.
Writing, Snowden is a traitor. When our country was great, do you know what we did to traitors?
I wonder when it is that he thinks America was great. We're a country that was born from an act of treason against a...
Right from the get-go, you see his eyebrows go up. There tends to be either he's trying to persuade her with his large eyes and his raised eyebrows, or he is in fear. Let's just go back just a tad.
From an act of treason.
There you go, act of treason. And you saw his forehead sort of furrow or contract there, and that can indicate a little bit of fear there, which is just a quick micro-expression. But also there's a lot of smiling going on too.
Against a government that had run out.
There's contempt there. So let's go back and listen to the whole phrase.
We're a country that was born from an act of treason against a government that had run out of control.
There you go. So he believes that because he's got contempt for what he's saying. And then he looks down. So he's not exactly 100% proud of what he's saying.
But we should always make a distinction that right and wrong is a very different standard than legal and illegal.
Are you saying what you did was right?
I think...
Or legal?
Okay, so he looked down, furrowed his eyebrows, which shows his irritation, and he doesn't quite want to respond to her question in an upfront manner.
And legal and illegal.
Are you saying what you did was right?
I think...
Or legal? Or both?
I would not have done it if I didn't believe it was right.
Okay, so again, there's a little bit of fear coming through his forehead. I'll slow this one down.
Or both?
I would not have done it.
Okay, so there was eye closing there, or elongated blinking, and that can mean he doesn't quite believe in what he's saying. There's a fear there going on with his raised eyebrows in the middle.
I didn't believe it was right.
But you would acknowledge
So he's not 100% in with what he's saying.
it was illegal.
It was right.
But you would acknowledge it was illegal.
It's pretty sketchy there.
So that was elongated pursing of the lips. So what he's doing is he doesn't want to quite let out that, yes, he realizes it is probably illegal.
There is a lot of talk out there that Vladimir Putin may hand you over to the United States as a goodwill gesture to the Trump administration. How concerned / nervous are you about that?
It wasn't so many years ago that people were saying, this guy's a Russian spy. But countries don't give up their spies. That's a vindication.
A vindication of what?
The fact that I'm independent.
Okay, so he's got raised eyebrows, which means that he is in somewhat fear. However, his chin is up, so he has a sense of confidence with what he's saying.
The fact that I have always worked on behalf of the United States.
And when he says that, there is a slight contempt when he's saying he's worked for the United States.
The fact that Russia doesn't own me.
And he is shaking his head when he said, Russia doesn't own me. So he's congruent with what he's saying. At this stage, if I was a person thinking that he is actually a Russian spy, I might be thinking again, because he is congruent with what he's saying.
Respectfully say to the president, I understand you have an incredibly difficult job. No one wants to be a whistleblower.
So if you saw there was a cluster of mannerisms going on, one after the other. They're mostly congruent, so let's have a look again.
Wants to be a whistleblower.
No one wants to be a whistleblower.
Blower.
And then he purses his mouth, closes his mouth, closing the information off. And yet here we have slight duping delight. And then it changes into contempt, which is quite an interesting cluster.
This is America. When something goes wrong, don't we want somebody to stand up and say something about it?
Okay, so it's pretty congruent so far. So he's nodding his head. Don't we want someone to stand up for us, basically? And he's nodding his head, so congruent.
Reputation of the intelligence community.
These officials have had every opportunity to show evidence that harm came as a result, and they haven't.
Okay, let's have a look at slow time. The same thing.
Officials have had every opportunity
Mixed messages, so every sort of shaking with head, then into a nod.
to show evidence that harm came as a result,
Congruent.
and they haven't.
Slight contempt and nodding his head, so he's congruent with what he's saying.
When you look back at the last 3 years, was it worth it?
Absolutely, I would do it again.
No regrets.
No regrets at all.
So let's have a look at that in slow-mo.
Absolutely, I would do it again.
This is where it's not congruent. So he's shaking his head and he's pursing his mouth. Nope. So he's saying, absolutely, I would do it again. Then he should be nodding. Instead, he's shaking his head.
No regrets.
No regrets at all.
So it's mostly congruent, but he did blink on that particular note, so he doesn't 100% believe in what he's saying. And that's my conclusion of Edward Snowden, whether he is a Russian spy and whether he thinks he was right, and mostly congruent, so you could say about 80% congruent from this one interview alone. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed watching this video. Please subscribe, like, and ding my bell.